Good afternoon, dear friends, colleagues. So let's start our section. I kindly ask all participants to follow the time limit, no more than 15 minutes per speaker. If you want questions or discussion, the report should be shorter than 15 minutes. I represent the first speaker, Yoon Chan Hee, from Sun Moon University, South Korea. The title of the report, A Study on the Design of Sustainable Green Smart Future School Development Plan. The mentor, Lee Jambang. Welcome.
Mr. Professor Lee Gi-seok, enter.
Yeah, sorry, we have a little change in the program.
Presentation change. Today's present 최현식.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
공유 한번 해봐.
Yeah. 네.
잘 보입니다. 현식아 시작해 주셔도 될 것 같아요.
네. Let's begin my presentation. I'm nervous, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. I will explain my work in an easily to understand way. Then I will begin the presentation of 현식 Choi. I prospective graduate students at the Department of Architecture at Sun Moon University. Page 2. My project was to design a complex cultural space near the station or area in Asan, a small city in Korea. The name of the work was named A1345 by coming the A of Asan region and the A of arts, and talking the street number of Bebang, the area of the work. I like to travel, and when I arrived in the region, the first place I visited was a complex cultural space. I felt it was a place where people could gather or come up with new ideas. Prior to the graduation design, 2022 was the year when the biggest issue was the coronavirus. I contacted a study on the change of complex culture space after the pandemic, and as a result, I present on alternative rather than responding to future pandemics. And the design with a goal of sustainable with use of architecture. Next page. The site selected a space with good accessibility and high population density adjacent to Asan Station, Cheonan Asan High-Tech Station, and Tangjong Station near site. And we have made it possible to provide a special space where people of culture nearby can gather. and my concept, the space design was to create a distance of 2 meters or more to provide a buffer space to ventilate between the connected lines, so that people can experience indoors and outdoors alternately. This can be the deforestation, but that best suits and pandemic situation and the words of the new normal era can be operated. Even after the pandemic, cultural people can experience this space and enjoy them while being conscious of another pandemic. Next page. As an open space, the main atrium space, where natural light can reach the inside of the building, allow you to experience different feeling for each space. This building, A1345, was designed a strong and safe structure with a responsive concrete structure, also a wire, and a wood column. Was planned in the atrium space to support art elements and the largest space. Next page. This plane is the rest plane, and as an eco-friendly structure, BIPB was planned on the atrium roof. This color atrium roof, which is most affected by sunlight, and a method of increasing energy efficiency within the exhibition hall was chosen by adjusting the amount of solar radiation with louvers. This plan is eco-friendly design. In addition, eco-friendly finishing materials use design elements were applied. The moving wall system was applied to the activity space, which is an interior and exterior connection space directly. To the outside on the first floor to create space separation and variable space so that energy expansion could be better than before. This panel is my graduate panel. Thank you for listening to the presentation of A1345, a sustainable complex culture space. Thank you. 발표 마치겠습니다.
수고했습니다.
Thank you. So if you have questions, please.
Okay, thank you for your interesting report. So, dear colleagues, maybe some question to the speaker.
Can I have a question? You tried to employ new technologies and different approaches, both in construction, in ventilation, and in the building planning and design. to make it work for the new era, yes, for the pandemic. How do you think, what is the biggest challenge to design such a building? What was the biggest challenge for you?
Certainly, my best idea is atrium and indoor and outdoor. Atrium is more people meeting area, and small space is to distance of the people. My concept is distance is 2 meters, and indoors, outdoors, indoors, outdoors with on one space.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'm a mentor, a professor, Mr. Choi Hyun-sik, student. So I explain some more. His main idea of this design is that open space, outdoor space by tons, ton by tons. So first start indoor space, and next outdoor space, and next indoor space by ton. But I think the concept of spaces in response to the pandemic era was a good idea, but there is a regret that is not well expressed on the floor plan, I think. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have seen it very well. Thank you. Maybe I will translate the answer of professor. Ну, во-первых, давайте поприветствуем профессора Ли Кисёка, который научный руководитель студента, который представил нам доклад. И вот он прокомментировал тоже, что главный новый элемент, да, новый подход к проектированию — это чередование внешних пространств и внутренних пространств. То есть это создает вентиляцию, создает такие буферные зоны, благодаря которым обеспечивается и расстояние между людьми, и обеспечивается приток воздуха свежего. И таким образом возможно создать общественное пространство в таких условиях, да, когда людям нужно находиться далеко друг от друга. Okay. Thank you.
And then I have some education works of some university. Every student who graduates from my university design department should have to be ability to deal with passive system to save energy. So this kind of project can save more than 70 or 80% rather than any normal buildings. So it's very energy efficient building based on the eco-friendly design. We control this project by controlling, measuring insulation, and then analyzing by design programs, analysis programs. So we can see this kind of analysis on the right part of this presentation. It's great.
И второй момент — это то, что сейчас подход к образованию, в архитектурному образованию — это одна из задач — научить всех студентов проектировать энергоэффективные здания. И вот это здание, оно позволяет сэкономить около 80% энергии. И это второй важный пункт, да, второй новый подход к проектированию.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we have some more questions. Okay, you can finish screen demonstration.
현식이는 공유를 해제하시고.
네.
Okay, thank you for your report. We go ahead and I introduce the second speaker, Pugacheva Ekaterina from Pacific National University. Peculiarities of formation of development of the city of Changchun at the end of 19th, the first third of the 20th century. Mentor Anton Andreevich Kim. Ekaterina, welcome.
Just a second. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
My presentation. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Cherry. Let me present my report, Peculiarities of Formation of Development in the City of Changchun at the end of the 19th, the first third of the 20th century. Historically, the northeast territories of China were sparsely populated until the end of the 19th century due to the fact that Manchuria was sacred significance at the sacred and ancestral home of the Qin dynasty. In addition, harsh climate conditions forced them to settle further south. In this regard, here, unlike the rest of China, there was no developed urban culture. There was a complete absence of the construction industry and poorly developed communication routes. Most of the cities were small. This study will examine how the sites, cities and this regional have changed after the development of the railway infrastructure using the example of the city of Changchun. So the purpose of this study is to identify the features and determine the principles of the formation of urban development along the South Manchurian Railway at the end of the 19th century, the first third of the 20th century, on the example of the city of Changchun. In 1800, the Qing government established Changchun Hall at Changchun Fort on the banks of the Iton River on the basis of borrowing land to support the people. This moment is considered the starting point of the birth of the city. However, in 1825, Changchun was moved north to Quanchunzi, which was a major trading city in the vicinity of Changchun. A tall center of the historical Chinese city, there is a perfect square with the city gates in Changchun North, Northwest, West, Southwest, South, and East. Over time, a chaotic surrounding building began to form around the historical square, which began to appear as the administrative regulation of urban development decreased at the end of the 19th century. However, over time, this layout has undergone significant changes. Now we can only roughly understand where the walls and gates of historical square were located. This structure has not been perceived and has not been reflected in the formation of the road network on the modern city. Like many cities in Northeast China, the architectural planning of Changchun was influenced by the arrival of Russia in 1898, which received temporary use of the territory along the Sierra under construction. In the city of Changchun, the Russian settlement and the Quanchunzi railway station were located to the north of the railway, within the right-of-way, not far from the historical center, thereby creating a new center of growth, pulling over main functions. The development of these territories was carried out according to the principles of the hypodamus grid, which was often used by Europeans in the construction of colonial cities. This station belonged to the fourth class. The class determined the area of the settlement, layout, functional zoning, location of the railway service. A small square planned in front of the station, which is the first square in the history of Changchun. The station building is the central element of a master plan, through which the main axis of the settlement passes, on which the main public buildings are usually located. The main street runs parallel to the railway line and is its backup for the rest of the transport. The Russians successfully built stations and ancillary facilities, railway, personal dormitories, schools, clubs, barracks, chapels, and other buildings of the Quanchunzi station. The construction of the Quanchunzi settlement brought modern industrial technology and urban civilization to Quanchunzi. Water supply, electric lighting, and power tools appeared. After the defeat of Russia in the war with Japan under the Treaty of Portsmouth, Chonchun fell into the zone of Japanese control and became one of the main centers of the Japanese presence in southern Manchuria. Later, Japan acquired the railway line and established the South Manchurian Railway. A historical district, country within a country, carefully planned by the Japanese, was located on the site between the old city of Chonchun and the annexed Russian side. During the construction of this area, the territory was chosen for the following reasons. Firstly, the location between the old city and the Kwanchenzi railway station can isolate the Russian Kwanchenzi railway station. Secondly, at that time, there were few inhabitants in the area, and the cost of buying land was low. Thirdly, the relief was gentle, which was convenient for large-scale constructions in the future. Fourthly, this territory was located far from the old city, which helped to minimize conflict with the local population. Firstly, the decision regarding the width of the road and traffic regulation was not satisfying. As a result, amendments were made, and this road system laid the foundation for the later development of Chonchun. When planning the extension of Manchurian railway station to Chonchun station, it was customary to lay a matrix type road network and use 4 diagonal roads, which was supposed to be considered to each other by a ring roads, as in Dalyan and Paris, and not a crossroads, which tended to theory of planning in modern cities. To avoid the shortcoming of the matrix road network, a square was created at the intersection of 4 diagonal roads, and public facilities were placed around the square. In 1932, there was a debate about the choice of the capital by the Japanese colonists. Mukden has always been the center of actively for the Manchurian Japanese. On the contrary, Chonchun at that time was very small in terms of population area and socio-economic development, and yet the city was chosen as the new capital of Manchukuo for the following reasons. Politically, Mukden and Harbin were originally the political centers of the Xinjiang region in northeast China and the Russian administrative, respectively, and the influence of their old forces cannot be ignored. Economically, Chonchun is a city with cheap land prices, which is conducive to land acquisition and urban development. Geographically, Mukden is the north-south, Harbin is the north, and Jilin is far from the South Manchurian Railway and the Middle East Railway, and transportation is not convenient. It can be seen that Chonchun began to actively develop and build up precisely from the moment it became the political center, Jilin, of Japan in Tohoku during the extents of the puppet Manchukuo. The layout and construction of Jilin, especially the use of city squares and radial roads, was strongly influenced by European cities and the desire to create an ideal city. Like other urban planning plans of the puppet Manchukuo, in the planning is the great importance attached to the construction of a system of parklands. Urban landscaping is of a fairly high standard and has detailed planning, as in other cities of the puppet Manchukuo. In conclusion, it can be noted that the structure of each region is different. In Chinese, it has a chaotic character around the order center. In Russian and Japanese, it is based on a straight line. Basically, all roads tend to be perpendicular to each other, and to achieve great expansiveness, additional diagonal connections are introduced. The functional content of each district is similar. Everywhere it is necessary to have administrative, commercial, residential, and economic zones. As for intersection with the environment, the Chinese city is based on the area orientation to the cardinal points. Russian and Japanese do not adhere to this rule. They are based on the railway relative to which the main axes are built. Summing up, it should be noted that the main difference between countries are in the regime of government. China lived separately from the rest of the world, was a closed country, and developed gradually according to its traditions. The arrival of invaders of the territory of Northeast China led to the development of cities and infrastructure, which have gave an exotic look to the cities of this region. Russia and Japan, in turn, built new cities on this territory. Therefore, under the trend of ideal cities, they tried to lay cities that were convenient, practical, and no less important, expressive, as they designed the capitals of the new world. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Katerina. Are there some questions?
Ну, давайте я начну.
Okay.
Здравствуйте. Спасибо за интересный доклад. И тема очень интересна. И доклад шел в хорошем темпе. Вопрос у меня к вам, Екатерина, такой. Как вы оцениваете достижения русского периода и, что, пожалуй, даже более интересно, японского периода? Были ли находки с точки зрения современного на тот период градостроительства? И как они сказались на дальнейшем развитии города?
Okay, let me
Спасибо.
translate the question. The question is about what were the most successful points of Russian part of architecture and Japanese architecture in and what were the new things that were brought maybe into urban design of that time with these examples. Thank you.
Let me ask, are you about urban development, not about buildings, right? Про градостроительство, не про здания.
Да, конечно, о градостроительстве.
I think that in the example of Chunchun, it is difficult to see special points that Russians bring there. Я думаю, что на этом городе сложно отследить, какие нововведения были приняты российскими архитекторами. Because this station was only 4th class, потому что эта станция была всего лишь 4-го класса, and it was not the it wasn't important city for the railway. Это был не настолько значимый город для железной дороги. So urban development here was not so expressive. И градостроительные принципы, которые здесь российские архитекторы использовали, были не такими впечатляющими. In turn, Japanese urban development was great here. Напротив, японское градостроительство здесь было просто на высоком уровне, великолепным. Because it was their capital, new capital, потому что это становилось их новой столицей. I think that width of streets and proportions between width and length of quarter were different. И что я заметила, то, что здесь изменилась ширина дороги, и пропорции кварталов, они были другими, новыми. So I think maybe that's all. Наверное, все.
Хорошо. Но вот сразу комментарий. Я бы хотела вам, для начала отметить, что позиция класса того или иного населенного пункта и позиция новшеств, скажем, архитектурно-градостроительных, это позиции из разных систем измерения, и они далеко не всегда совпадают. Скажем, идея города-сада впервые в России была опробована на маленькой железнодорожной станции, совсем даже не первого и не второго класса. И даже, скажем так, какие примеры можно приводить? Таких примеров можно приводить много. Ну, а что касается конкретно Чанчуня, то да, согласна, здесь разница в использовании города русскими и японцами, она принципиальна, и вы это правильно отметили, именно поэтому я и задала этот вопрос. Но я хочу сказать, что тема очень интересная, вам надо продолжать дальше исследовать. Думаю, что и в русской части города вы сможете найти интересные вещи. И в этом плане, конечно, было бы любопытно сравнить еще и китайскую часть периода расцвета, исторического расцвета, потому что мы не забываем, да, что там и мавзолей, и все такое прочее, что там это тоже одна из ключевых точек. Все-таки место жизни последнего императора, но должности его, а-ля императора, это тоже любопытно. Поэтому, значит, любопытно. Ну, спасибо за ответ.
Я еще могу добавить, I can also notice that,
Да, хорошо.
вот про город-сад, да, вы сказали?
Да.
Планировка.
Я не говорила про город-сад, я говорила про новые направления, но вы совершенно правы. Речь идет о концепции город-сад.
If we notice here, если мы здесь посмотрим, number 4 is living buildings, number 5 gardens. Даже на примере этой карты можно заметить, что под номером 4 обозначены жилые здания, под номером 5 сады. То есть действительно, они расположены вместе, и уже начинается, даже здесь прослеживаться вот эта вот идея города-сада. So they are placed nearby, and we can also notice that the idea of garden city is also here presented. А на японской части, как я сказала, большое значение, да, уделялось озеленению. Here in Japan, city big role played the greenery. И здесь, в отличие от российского, да, русского квартала, оно взаимодействует с окружающей средой, а в российском квартале пока просто унесено на окраину. And in Japan city, greenery is between buildings, and in Russian city, the greenery is in the border yet.
Хорошо, спасибо.
Maybe I will translate the comment of Professor Lychkova. She had 3 points. The first was that maybe there are class of railway station and there are new ideas that are employed into urban design from the different fields. There are many examples when the new idea, for example, Howard's Garden City, was first employed into Russian architecture in the very small railway station. The second point is that truly the Russian and Japanese approach to the city was totally different. And the third is that this research is very interesting and it should be developed, and maybe the research of the third of the Chinese part would also should be continued. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for interesting discussion. Are there any more questions to the speaker? Okay, we can go ahead. Ekaterina, please finish screen demonstration. I see we have some program changes. The next speaker will be from Pacific National University, Ariel Daria. The title of the report, Problems of Linear Pedestrian Spaces. Daria, welcome.
Ага, вот оно что. Далеко.
Okay, I see the mentor, Professor Zadornuk, but I don't see the speaker.
Good day for everybody. Да, это я нажала. More than 75% of Russian population is urban. Cities are the main engine of all economic process. Since more than 68% of national GDP is produced in them. The city of Khabarovsk has a population of over 600,000 people and is included in the category of large cities. According to the RF House Urban Environment Quality Assessment, the city of Khabarovsk has a score of 2002 about 202 about 360 on following items: houses and adjacent 35, street and road system 31, green space 29, public and business 28, social 42, and city-wide space 37. The urban environment of Khabarovsk is better than more on other Russian cities. However, it still doesn't meet the definition of comfortable. The basic principle of improving the urban environment. First, it's safety, friendliness, feeling of comfortable in the environment. Second, functional diversity, concentration on the one territory of objects of different function. Third is its ability, reach of related service facilities, recreation areas, and information boards and other. Next, flexibility and adaptivity, the ability to adapt and change the space with minimal effort and time. And the last, it's shell and visual aspect. It's design, composition, the order of assistance, and other things. So let's speak about the object of research. It's part of Karl Marx Street in Khabarovsk. The selected site is a 20th century building street and have very diverse structure. The idea of the research is to identify and eliminate negative factor of the development of the pedestrian street. Historically formed lined pedestrian space doesn't reach its full potential. As the central axis of the city, this street doesn't have necessary stability. Pedestrian traffic within its territory is unstable, functional zone is not flexible enough, and its appearance is inconsistent in some place. The working hypothesis is to find methods of modernization lining pedestrian space in modern cities of Russia. This is a functional analysis of territory. We can see 9 main functions. It's trade, culture and entertainment, public catering, related service, administrative, education, recreation, housing, and office space. The object of research doesn't have sufficient flexibility, and it's characterized by inherent of the separate section. We see a concentration of one or another function in some parts of the object. Pedestrian flows move only point A to point B without concentration and another in passing. Next part is historical analysis. The period covers the range from the early 20th century to the present day. Some areas continue to be developed to this day. There are several monuments of architecture of different eras and style. Such historical diversity of development is very interesting urban phenomenon that need more attention. Linear public space with citywide significance intertwining the diversity of a whole historical area is not understood as an integral object. The street breaks up into the separate islands, burning the features of one or another style, time and function. It's attractive in details, but difficult to understand as a complete object. Next part is a study of dynamics of the street silhouette. Stage of study. First is fixation of the most prominent shots in the direction of movement. Second, it's identify the clear silhouette to each perspective using a graphic method. And the third, determining the range of view from the fixation point on the furthest boundary of the perspective and plotting all visible frames. As a result, we get a graph. Linear dynamic space during the step-by-step review. The ability to see the area is an important psychological factor. A person will feel comfortable in a more multimization space, viewing distance, absence of visual barrier, transformation of the. It's a positive effect on the territory feeling. And pedestrian load. An observation was made to count pedestrians at 10 minutes intervals for each area. A pedestrian density factor was calculated. We can see on the slide. Number of pedestrians under large of the area. In total, experiment was done 4 times in the morning and evening hours for the weekend and for the weekday. We can see 4 situations in the left part of picture, and in the right, it's a final result of all situations. And conclusion. After analyzing of the object of research, we can make its evaluation according to the 5 criteria present in paragraph 2. First, it's safety. It doesn't call the street safe for pedestrian traffic. It's poorly adapted for the movement of people with low mobility. There are many problems with the relief. There are no ramps. They are badly equipped for a crosswalk. Functional diversity. Different functional of the territory is quite enough. The main problem of the objects is the inherence of all these various functions in the isolation, the lack of smooth transition from one to other. Next, accessibility. The street doesn't process this street. as we move forward, we encounter many barriers, both physical and psychological. Flexibility and adaptivity. Some objects try to use their neighboring area for various seasonal and festive installation. It has a positive effect on the environment and territory. The negative point is the lack of such space and the fact that these citizens some so well and little involved in them. And the last, it's shell and visual aspect. The object is visually wide and well visible. The buildings here are not too tall, quite tangible. The silhouette of the street is quite dynamic and wired. From the negative aspect, it was nothing to visual cluttering of environment with random billboards, especially in the shopping area. And the last, I can say, in the modern world, human beings strive to maximize the optimization for eternally of their existence in a modern rhythm of life. At the same time, we see the problem of the decline of social interaction. This brings the need for modernization of the living environment. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Daria. So we have time just for one question. Maybe somebody wants to ask.
I have one question.
Okay.
As we have, I have been there in Khabarovsk for more than 15 times. It's a very nice city. It's very cozy and it's designed on the basis of human scale. It's okay. But as presenter said, we need some more comfortable and safe need for city planning. What do you think? What is the most urgent planning that we need for Khabarovsk city plan, considering this kind of safety, functional needs, and something like that?
Okay, let me translate the question from Professor Lee. Профессор Ли был в Хабаровске больше 15 раз, он хорошо знает город. Он считает, что Хабаровск город очень приятный, да, для жителей. Но, как упомянул докладчик, проблемы, да, самые острые проблемы, которые касаются нас градостроительных решений на этой улице, это проблемы комфорта и безопасности. Как вы считаете, какая самая срочная проблема, которую нужно решать? Вот самое первое.
Ну, самое первое — это, скорее всего, вопрос безопасности и доступа. То, что, это элементарно мешает определенным группам населения перемещаться. И этот же фактор является самым отталкивающим, скорее всего. Ну а далее это уже визуальный комфорт, приведение определенных регламентов по оформлению внешней среды, рекламы и прочего, чтобы территория, уже становилась более комфортной, приятной поэтапно.
Okay, so the most urgent field is the field of safety and access to the street and to the buildings of people, especially people with special needs, who now have the problems with access to the houses, entrances, and to the pedestrian crossings, and so on. So it's the most urgent question we should solve. And the next one then will be the visual information on the street and others.
Okay, it is okay. It's perfect answer. So when I think about the suburbs, I think when you have more open spaces just next to street, in front of buildings, in 100 meters, when you have open space, that'll be okay. That'll be good for your city to solve that kind of problem, I think. Open spaces, small open spaces.
И профессор Ли вносит такое предложение, что, возможно, отчасти решением этой проблемы будет создание большего количества открытых пространств перед зданиями, которые облегчат доступ и которые сделают среду более комфортной.
Спасибо большое за предложение и вопрос.
Thank you for the question very much and for your remark.
Yes, thank you, Daria. Thank you, Professor Lee. We have no time for another questions. We should continue our section. The next speaker from Pacific National University, Roman Pargin. The theme of his report, the soaring cube shape in the chapel, spatial modeling, term project case study. Mentor, Ivan Anatольевич Danilov. Roman, welcome.
Как прекратить предыдущую презентацию, извините. Так. PowerPoint открылся. Так. The sharing cube. The sharing cube is unusual morphotype of the cubic form. The fundamental difference between gravitation morphotypes of cube is a relation to the gravitational vertical, which crosses the surface of a sharing cube at opposite vertex and the line cube at the centers of opposite phase. Accordingly, the 8 vertices in the cube intersect the 4-coordinate x of 4D space in pairs, and the centers of the 6 faces intersect the 3x of the Descartes coordinate system of Euclidean 3D space in pairs. The canon of the Earth cube is fixed in the Russian Code of Regulations. This is example from this Code of Regulation. Here are examples of the line cube in the temple architecture. The Kaaba is the most ancient and canonical example. It's also the main Muslim temple. A regular hexagon was named after him. It's also a great importance to such religions as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The biblical story of Jacob dreams inform us of the basic architectural archetypes of the temple building. According to the story, the place of dream is realized by its hero as the temple and portal, and the stone under the head as pedestal and altar. These 4 architectural archetypes is the rule are embodied in cubic form. Examples in the visual arts. These pictures have different interpretations and in different scales of the meaning. Reduced in the conditions of the 3D world, a 4D cube in 3-dimensional space leaves a projection of 3-dimensional hexagon and hexagonal trace on the horizontal surface. In historical architecture, used only the attributes of the 4D cube, Modern art technology makes it possible to recreate this 4D shape. The most famous examples of the 4D cube in modern architecture. 4D cube are attributes: hexagonal prism and hexagon. Examples of the 4D cube in historical architecture. Also, we can see the 4D cube itself. We can see its elements. The chapel of the closet type. It's made according to the frame lattice special structural shape. The chapel of the open type. The structural basic is a frame of core elements in the edges of a soaring cube. Fastened is the vertex with clamps. There was a line cube in priori used in historical architecture. In the same time, different gravitational morphotypes of the cubic shape were not mentioned anywhere. They are written sources and real case student of the temple architecture indirectly pointing of the gravitational 4D morphotype of the cubic shape. The use of the 4D cube becomes an incident of contradiction with the canon that had developed in historical practice. But like the formulation of the canon, so it possible extended interpretation of the result of the attitude of the collective conscience of expert towards. This question is still open. The absence of taboo on use of a 4D cube as a heavenly prototype on early 3D cube in temple architecture provides the basic of creative freedom. A study experiment determined a narrow typological framework for the use of soaring cube for modeling temple structures. Such an approach is expedient, is unique sentences and therefore cannot be used widely. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Roman. Maybe we have some question to the speaker.
So, can you show your model for this report?
We are asking the researcher to show he has beautiful models for his research, so we are showing. Ну, камера здесь где-то. Да, да, вот сюда идите. Наоборот, туда, в ту сторону.
Okay,
We have a
thank you for the
question.
demonstration. Yeah.
Ну хорошо, вопрос. Уважаемому докладчику, спасибо за доклад. Вопрос мой следующий. Почему куб вы выбрали за основу? Почему не шар или не какой-либо другой из 5 платоновских тел? И вообще 5 ли основных тел? Это почему куб? Чем он привлек ваше внимание по отношению к другим базовым телам?
Okay, the question is about why cube? Why the researcher choose this cubic form for his research among others 5 Platonic bodies, the main shapes we have?
Ну, как и было сказано ранее в примере и в самой презентации, куб – это самая простая форма. В ней наглядно можно посмотреть, как двигается объект в пространстве. То есть у нас, например, есть три оси x, y, z, и куб имеет как раз-таки противоположные стороны, вот, по которым может перемещаться, в принципе. Это, ну, на мой взгляд, как бы основная причина. Шар, он, по нему сложно понять, как он лежит в пространстве, и если его перевернуть, будет непонятно, как он, в принципе, будет ориентирован. Вот. С кубом это как-то попроще будет.
Ну,
Can I translate?
что шар перевернуть, что куб перевернуть, какая разница, что пирамиду перевернуть и так далее. Вот эти 5 платоновских тел, это же основа, они все одинаково просты и одинаково сложны одновременно. Ну, хорошо, в продолжение вопроса.
Can I translate?
Насколько вы считаете чистые формы сегодня приемлемы в современной архитектуре? Чистые, базовые, вот эти платоновские тела, насколько они приемлемы в современной архитектуре?
Okay, at first I will translate the answer. The cube was chosen as for its possibility to move along 3 axes. Yes, and the shape itself has those 3 axes, and the possibility of movement along them was one of the main point of research. And the next question of Professor Luchkova was about at first she commented on that all that 5 Platonic bodies, the simplest and the most difficult at that time, they all have such peculiarities. And her next question was about what are the possibilities, and is actually it is appropriate to use such a simple, clean form in today's architecture.
Ну, чистые формы будут актуальны всегда, даже на примере той же Кабы. Это было когда-то давно. Ну, это было построено давно, это фундаментальное произведение, и оно очень важное было для многих людей. Сейчас чистые формы в основном как бы и используются, современный дизайн не стремится к простоте. Но простые формы не значит, что легко реализуемые. Ну, скажем так, это актуально в данный момент, в принципе.
And the answer is that maybe those simple basic forms, they can be used everywhere and at every time. They are eternal, as we can say, and they had a great potential in the architecture of the past, and they preserve this potential today. Maybe it is one of the designers' approach to move into this very clean form and to research it and to make to bring some new ideas into it.
Okay, thank you. Maybe any more questions?
Я хотела спросить вот докладчика отношение к самой вот форме, да, такой эксперимент. Вообще это формообразование любых храмовых, церковных, да, сооружений, это является очень сложной и мало разработанной темой. Вот. И вот это здесь такое тонкое унаследование. И если рассматривать исторически, то любой стиль с самых ранних до середины 20 века, да, до начала 20 века, это все-таки храмы или сооружения эти, они узнаваемы. А вот здесь практически неузнаваем. Получилась часовня неузнаваема. Но только лишь формально появилась главка. Если главку убрать, то, собственно, просто это вот форма. И вот вопрос докладчику: какое отношение, как вы относитесь к такому эксперименту? Ну и планируете ли дальше экспериментировать в этой части? Спасибо.
The question is about the usage of such a basic and simple form in religion. We have a very long history of using them in different branches of Christianity, other religions, and they are always very vividly seen. Yes, we can tell what is the church, what is the branch of the church. And these modern forms, maybe they cannot be so simple, so easily recognized. Yes, if we will take away their upper part and we will leave only the cube, we cannot say what the Christianity branch it is. So what is your opinion about it? How do you see, actually the design approach of using such a forms is not very good, well researched in the today's architectures. It has a very strong historical basement. So do you plan to continue your research in this religious field of architecture?
Несомненно, я планирую дальше продолжать экспериментировать с разными формами. Но по поводу того, что у этой часовни нет тех элементов, которые есть у, так скажем, классической часовни, немного вынужден не согласиться. Как было сказано, собственно, в самой презентации ранее, часовни сами по себе имеют форму куба, только, скажем так, он принадлежал не 4D-пространству, как в данных экспериментах, а к 3D-пространству, то есть это был просто лежащий куб. Главки на нем это был по факту наш 4D-куб, только изображенный как раз-таки в форме призмы. Как и в старых часовнях были шестигранники, только здесь мы оставили, собственно, саму вот эту вот чистую форму. Вот. Так что вот поэтому я вынужден не согласиться, что она имеет совсем новую форму, это выглядит необычно, но если рассматривать ее как часовню, у них есть кресты, главки, вот, она имеет сакральное значение, как-то вот так вот.
And the answer is a little bit of argument, but historically the chapel, the Christian chapel, was also a cube, but laying on the ground in 3D space. And by turning it and giving it an angle, this new approach, it plays with its form and it puts it into the 4D dimension. And also it has all the basic elements, like the head of the chapel, the roof, the details that will tell people that it is a chapel actually. So the details and this this new approach to the form, it inherits, yes, it lets the chapel to inherit the historical base we have in the religious architecture.
Okay, thank you for this discussion. We have no time. So I introduce the next speaker. Our last speaker, Andrei Zima. I'm sorry, some technical difficulties.
Hello. Здравствуйте.
The speaker from St. Petersburg Architectural and Civil Engineer University. The theme of the report, development of the periphery of the core of St. Petersburg agglomeration. Mentor, Professor Vilensky.
Good afternoon, conference participants and teachers. Zima Andrew, master student of urban planning of the St. Petersburg University of Architecture and Civil Engineering, scientific advisor Vilensky Mikhail, candidate of architecture, associate professor of urban planning department. I will present my study. The importance of the topic of this work is determined by the current trend of urban planning research in the field of spatial planning development of the St. Petersburg agglomeration, the concept of collaborative urban development of St. Petersburg, and the areas of the Leningrad region. Lays the way for the interconnected development of the two subjects of the Russian Federation, a result of which the range zone is the most susceptible and sensitive in the structure of the agglomeration. It is important to say that the object of the study is zone with similar characteristics that are directly or indirectly dependent on of the St. Petersburg agglomeration, due to which the boundaries of the real city are expanding, which we will call the periphery zone. A large number of studies by Russian authors are devoted to the study of the special settlement structure of the agglomeration and the delimitation of its borders. One, the concept of collaborative urban development of St. Petersburg and the territories of the Leningrad region agglomeration. Two, belt structure of agglomeration. Three, belt structure for downy recipient zoning. Five, structure of agglomeration with subcenters. Six, delimitation of boundaries according to light spots. And seven, the resulting boundary. The territorial development of the periphery of the agglomeration core is analyzed according to the following historical stages. The industrial fabric of the urban environment is not marked on these schemes. Stage first, the city center has formed. Industrial zones are moving to the periphery. The second stage, the continued formation of the historical center in the south, what gives the community center the ensemble of Moscow International Avenue. New support centers of the city are emerging, residential areas and working towns are being formed at enterprises. The period of development of Stalingrad. The third stage, this separation of the peripheral zone extensively developed by mass construction, Khrushchevka, from the center with the planned delimitation of the boundaries of the buffer zone, the gray belt. The fourth stage, the growth of the periphery continues, mass residential development, Brezhnevki became widespread. The gray belt becomes depressive in a periphery. The fifth stage, the zones of post-Soviet residential development with the spontaneous nature of the appearance and with features determine the formation of the new type of modern periphery. The sixth stage, the peripheral zone of the core of the agglomeration occurs modern borders. In the territories related to the main high-speed highways of the city, the Western High-Speed Diameter, the Ring Road, the ways of further expansion of the real Petersburg outlined. The modern type of periphery has such characteristics: the large-scale fragmentation, predominance of urbanized high-density buildings, functional monotony, etc., the main of which is a incompleteness of the areas in the process of development. Conclusion, the study revealed trends in the territorial development of the periphery of the core of the St. Petersburg agglomeration at different historical stages. The ways for the further development on the modern periphery shown results of this work are planned to be used in further research on the raised topic, including studies of the socio-cultural spaces of the peripheral zone. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope I have briefly introduced you to the development of the St. Petersburg agglomeration, namely its peripheral zone.
Okay, thank you, Andrei. Dear friends, we have no time, but maybe one short question for speaker.
Ну, давайте я начну.
Здравствуйте. Hello.
Здравствуйте. И отдельное здравствуйте Светлане Сергеевне, подключившейся к нам. Вопрос у меня такой. Скажите, пожалуйста, а не кажется ли вам, что петербургская агломерация на 5-м этапе развития, и особенно на 6-м, стала перерастать в конурбацию? И можно уже говорить о конурбационных процессах, а не агломерационных. Спасибо.
Ну, я буду говорить на русском.
Excuse me, translate, please.
So the question from Professor Lichkova, at first she agrees the head of this research, Professor Levoshka, who was working in Pacific National University several years ago. And the question of Professor Lichkova is about whether the researcher considers the idea that at the fifth and mostly at the sixth stage of St. Petersburg agglomeration development, it already risen the amount of, we cannot call it agglomeration, we can call it only conurbation. So maybe it now works according to the new laws of conurbation.
Так, ну, получается, что я буду говорить, наверное, последовательно и прерываться, или все вместе, чтобы переводили вы, вам было проще. Но сейчас многие исследователи говорят, что агломерация моноцентрическая. Вот. Все так как она развивается стихийно, то не образуется полноценных там подцентров агломерации. Там, можно их назвать опорными центрами. Можно называть агломерацией второго порядка. Не образуется. Вот. Во время исторического развития агломерации там, профессор Семенцов выделяет с агломерацией, например, там, Сестрорецк, да, которые возникали исторически. Вот. Но это не та периферия ядра, о которой я говорю. Это периферийные пояса, например. Можно так сказать. Или уже как бы они относятся к своим ядрам. Вот. А периферийная зона как раз возникает большой прирост территориальной плотности населения, но из-за того, что они не самостоятельные территории, я так и сказал, поэтому они прирастают, и возникает вот эта проблема их развития, как раз выделение вот этих опорных центров. У нас появилась вот программа совместная Петербурга и Ленинградской области по полицентрическому развитию как раз двух субъектов, совместному развитию. Вот, где были намечены как раз подцентры в этих вот зонах. В этих зонах и дальше исторические, например, подцентры, которые сложились. Например, Гатчин за пределами вот этого ядра. Оно и вот в этой периферии выделяются эти зоны. Но это только все как бы сейчас будет начинаться, потому что это там, прогноз планирования на 20-30 лет вперед. Вот. Но да, скорее всего, она будет так развиваться, когда будут возникать полноценные опорные центры, взаимодействие с вот этим историческим ядром, ну, скорее всего, будет конурбация. Но как бы этот путь намечен центрический, а на данный момент вот чистый моноцентрический.
Okay, let me translate. So now the main problem of St. Petersburg agglomeration is that it has still one historical center. It's can be called monocentric agglomeration, and it didn't form some subcenters in the periphery. So now there is a program of together St. Petersburg and Leningradsky region, which surrounds the city. They will work on the promotion of such subcenters, maybe historical ones, maybe new ones. And if those centers will be formed, but it's only in the future, then the problem of this centralized, very centralized system will go away, and then we maybe can call the system conurbation. But for now, we cannot.
Спасибо.
Ну, вы понимаете, да, что если мы говорим о переходе в конурбацию, то нужны все-таки другие немножко методы корректировки. Понятно, что регулирование не может быть, но корректировка быть обязательно.
Это да.
So if we are coming to the stage of conurbation, we need to make some new approaches for regulation methods. Maybe some ways of correction, not regulation, but still they will be demanded.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe more questions, so we can finish
Oh,
our
finish,
section.
finish time.
Okay. 7 minutes for break, yeah?
Okay, I have one question. There's any change of order of presentation for section 2?
Предполагается ли изменение в расписании во второй секции, потому что профессор Ли будет ее вести? Professor Lee, there will be no the presentation number 5 of your section. That or all?
Section 2.
Yes.
Or
yes.
section 2.
Yes, section 2. Yes. The report number 5. That at all.
There's no.
Yeah.
There is no change of order of
yes.
presentation.
No. Yes. This number 5 report, it goes away because she already made a presentation, and the others go in their order. There are no any changes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you.
У нас 7-минутный перерыв. Спасибо.
speaker is Sadrenov Semyon. The subject of this presentation, Industrial Heritage of China in the Work of Cities First Architecture. Mentor is Buzili Vech from Petropolitan University. Would you start? Would you begin?
Yes, one moment. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, good afternoon, conference participants. My topic of presentation is Industrial Heritage of Chita in the works of the first city architects. The study was supported by a grant from the Russian Science Foundation. The second half of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century was a time of intensive exploitation and development of the Russian part of the Far East. During this period, new cities and settlements were founded in the region, transport infrastructure was formed, trade and entrepreneurship were actively developing. Industrial production in the Far East, as studies show, developed at a slow pace. There were objective reasons for this. First of all, the remoteness and weak population of the territory, and as a result, the limited market for industrial products, the poor condition of roads, as well as the operation of the free port system along the entire borderline, which gives the right to duty-free trade in foreign goods. These reasons had a detrimental effect on private initiative and radically undermined local production and industry. Nevertheless, in the capital of Transbaikalia, Chita, several industrial heritage sites have been preserved, built according to the projects of professional architects. Let's consider them in more detail. The first building is XXIII Department Y Monopoly, architect Arnold. The complex occupies a block between the streets of Kostyushka, Grigorovich, Boganakov, Chkalova, Krasnoarmeyskaya, and is a stylistically integral ensemble made of red brick. The complex includes an industrial building, two-story houses, outbuildings, and trading shop. The main production building has a complex asymmetric volume and is located in the depths of the quarter. The three-story volume is decorated by a frieze with an art belt and semicircular pediment along the axis of the building at the level of the roof. The facade is decorated with red and yellow bricks. At present, the complex has been reconstructed and its buildings are occupied by trade objects. Second building, power plant of Polykov, an example of the city's industrial architecture of the early 20th century, but the building has a complex volumetric spatial structure consisting of several volumes due to the presence of multifunctional premises. The main two-story volume facing to the street is punctuated by a dome. The decor of the building is made in eclectic style with Gothic elements. Third building, the building of the second fire department of the Volunteer Fire Society. The main building is a two-story building made of brick. From the right flank, the volume of the tower adjoins, towering above the main building and fixing the angle of the intersection of the street. The decor is made in modern style with the addition of electric elements. Fourth building, fire department, as you can see in previous slide, a two-story brick building located along Verkhnya Undinskaya Street. On the right adjoins the volume of the tower towering above the main building. Elements of modernity are used in the design. In general, the plastic and stylistic decision repeats in previous object. next building, police and fire department. The 2 stories stone building of the police and the fire department is located along Chkalova Street. Watchtower rises above the main volume of the building, which emphasizes on intersection of 2 streets due its angular location. The composition is built on the cairn rhythmic structure of the facade on the main building, and the vertical of the tower with independent step of articulation. And conclusion, the industrial heritage is the capital of the Trans-Baikal territory, is not numerous. During the period under review, gold mining was actively developing in the region in the area of Nerchinsk penal servitude. The analysis showed that the location of industrial facilities in the building structure of Chita was influenced by various factors, including the terrain, the availability and condition of transport roads, the nature and arise of the surrounding buildings. As a rule, industrial buildings and structure were built of unplastered bricks, and decorative elements of front brickwork were used as the main means of artistic expressions of facade compositions. The presented objects are interesting not only as monuments of the history of industrial architecture of the early 20th century, but also as examples of the work of the first architecture of the region. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks for your presentation. It deals with industrial buildings relate to the traffic conditions and social conditions and materials. It's a good presentation. Is there any question?
Вопросы, может быть?
Okay, I have one question.
Okay.
In every building that you have presented, it's kind of public buildings, fire stations, police stations, something like that. Do they have do they have one tower in the corner of the building? Normally, do they have towers?
Вопрос профессора Ли, да, это все вот общественные здания, насколько, да, он понимает. В прошлом функциональные здания, здания пожарной станции, полицейской станции. Вот сейчас вот эти самые объемы башен, они используются?
Ну да, сейчас, спасибо за вопрос. Сейчас они используются, но, скорее всего, не по своему существующему назначению. Раньше же это было как, ну, допустим, наблюдательный пункт, что можно было бы увидеть, либо также как-нибудь оповестить. Сейчас это, скорее всего, используется как, ну, как отчасти кладовые, либо в некоторых местах какие-нибудь узлы связи просто для размещения, ну, там, каких-нибудь мини-вышек, модемов. То есть, а так в основном они, то есть то, что вот было замечено, они утратили свою функцию.
Okay, all these towers, they historically served as observation points, yes, to see the fire or something else. And now most of them lost their function, of course, and now they are mostly used as functional spaces for storage, or maybe for some internet supplies or something else.
Thank you. Any other question?
Еще вопросы?
Okay, thank you very much for your kind presentation. And then as a next, we'll have one more presentation, students. Second presentation by Baruch Mahmoud. The title is Assessing of Effectiveness of Urban Forms Influence on Forming Flood Resilient Cities. Entries An Aoyang, Jiang Zhejiang University, China.
Okay.
Already? Okay.
Hello,
Already?
professor. Okay.
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 Okay. You can go.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to participate in the International Forum New Ideas of the New Century. My name is Mahmoud Mabrouk, PhD student at Zhejiang University in China, and Professor Han Hoyong, who presented yesterday, is my research mentor. My topic concerns climate change, especially flooding threats, and how to improve our cities and develop strategic urban plans to shape flood-resilient cities, and what urban planning mechanisms can be proposed to mitigate potential natural risk. This presentation is abstracted from a lot of details and calculations, modeling that we do in our research. My research focuses on assessing the effectiveness of urban forms' influence on informing flood-resilient city and how schematic features can positively contribute to potential flooding risk reduction. First, I agree strongly with the statement saying that sooner or later you are going to lose if you batter nature, despite technological progress. All countries loses annually billions of dollars and lives due to natural disasters like earthquake, flooding, sea level rise, tsunami, heat island, greenhouse effects, hurricanes. So all world at the summit of COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt and COP21 in Paris agree that we must adapt to nature and depend on nature-based solutions. When we see the cities and disaster distribution, we find that 55% of people live in cities. 70% of cities are exposed to climate disasters. 2 billion people will live in hazard-prone areas in 2023. Our research is a part of a slogan toward forming climate change resilient cities. Urban flooding is the riskiest and the most costly, deadliest, and the most frequent phenomenon. Our presentation is our research is part of our presentation are divided into 4 parts. First, discuss the relation between flood risk management and urban planning. Second, conduct a scientific analysis for measuring urban pattern resilience and comforting the potential for flood risk. Third, we make contribution to shaping flood resilient cities. First, I'm sorry, 1 minute.
Is there any problem?
Yeah, 1 minute. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't be nervous.
Yeah, okay. First, our flood can classify into 5 categories. First, urban flood, bluff flood, coastal flood, ground flood, and flash flood. We focus in our research in urban flood. When we compare natural disaster, we found that flood account 49% of total events. Flood responsible for 7% of total deaths and 22 of economic loss. China is the most effective country by flooding. China cost $3 billion in 2021 and $51 in 2022, and about 4,000 people dead. About 30% of activities in China are exposed to flood risks. Previous research has proven that structure about mitigation and measures of flooding, it's classified into structure and non-structure measures. Previous research has proven that the structure measures are not effective in coping with increasing frequency of moderate floods and rapid urbanization. Special planning and non-structure measures can play an increasingly role in reducing flood risk. So many strategies were released globally, such as strong cities in China, low impact development in England, green infrastructure in USA, water sensitive design in Australia. So what is the research questions? Our research question, which effective urban pattern or schematic features affect on flood reduction, how measuring criteria are standards. To us, our research identify urban form elements can positively contribute in flood reduction, define urban pattern planning mechanism to improve resilience of pattern. Our hypothesis that neglected urban form in flood strategy may become one of the most substantial flood reduction. So how to make a scientific analysis of urban pattern influences on storm runoff characteristics? Our research consists of 3 steps. First step is generating urban form, realistic and quasi-realistic urban pattern using QGIS, OpenStreetMap, Civil 3D, and urban generating tool. Then we make simulation, schematic 2D numerical simulation were performed for urban forming under the same we used our 30.1 and open follow flood. And we make some statistical analysis to measure how urban parameters influences in storm. First, we generate 6 unrealistic urban layouts were generated, all same covered area, 2 kilometer squares. We consider about 10 independent dimensions, such mean parcels, parcel specs, street width, street curvature, street length, street orientation, building coverage, percent of landscape, and some supportive parameters such as permeability, building heights, trains, mixed use, and residential. In the next step, we make prosperity some complete simulation for each pattern under the same. All patterns exposed to the same condition, such the rainfall and the same hydraulic boundary conditions, considering the roughness parameters, convenience, prosperity, and time during the simulation. Regarding the boundary condition, the south side of the competition domain, the upstream down. In contrast, the north and the east and west side are the downstream one. In our and take 2 slopes, 1% and 7% in our simulation. And then measuring water depths, water velocity, water hazard in each pattern for this. We make some statistical analysis and some simulations in this pattern. Then we find that the street building coverage and street orientation are the most effectively in flood reduction, in flow velocity and flow depth and water hazard and specific discharge. We put some key contributions for urban planning after this modeling, that the flow variables are strongly affected by difference in urban form, street orientation, and high lateral setback. Prosperity-based vertical roads network aligned with the slope downstream are preferable for mitigation storm rainfall depths and the potential risk property damage. Flood-prone cities should avoid using cul-de-sac slopes and zigzag routes when using, which causes significant pressure on the main stress stream during flow. The compact urban pattern is effective in mitigation flood intensity compared to other patterns by increasing the number of prosperity-based manure vertical street oriented downstream rather than having only 2 or 3 significant streets. Urban building density is not suitable indicator for assessing flood prone district only, and prosperity-based district configuration is preferable indicator. Then we, based on the simulation and modeling, we make conceptual based on previous flood scenarios. Model 2 in our analysis is the most ideal in controlling the flow process, represented by semi-straight network toward the downstream. We present 4 straight conceptual model, which are similar in network planning but differ in probable surface. Option 1 and 2 are only the building scenario and greenery scenario, which rely slowly in street prosperity. And integrating blue-green infrastructure or probable material-based infiltration all have the advantage of integrating water elements into street island landscape. Regarding option 2 and 3, the central part, which collect collect rainwater from all direction, which reduce the district water depth and prosperity. This is a conceptual model we raised. Our recommendation for enhancing urban schematic, impending climate change in urban planning and design, integrating mitigation and adaptation as a win-win action, and increasing the vegetative cover in the city, that lowering temperature and runoff and pollution. Invest in nature-based solution component of climate change adaptation strategy for health, for risk reduction and sustainable development. This is this sample from USA. This building communities with farmers and spawning cities in China. Integrating blue-green infrastructure at different scale, such building scale and neighbor scale and the city scale. Sustainable urban intensification, which play a significant role in building and setbacks and coverage area, to make ventilation for flood retention area. Replanning brownfield for flood contingency and other climate threats. Overlapping and coping strategies and community at city scale. Strengthens the role of urban planning and other disciplines to cope with, to shape a resilient city. Develop an innovative city resilience framework and mean of finds. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very practical articles to save, to make city free from flood. Okay. Okay. Any questions on these articles? Okay,
Профессор Ли.
Professor Lukova.
Yes.
Yeah.
Вы знаете, я бы скорее не вопрос, а комментарий к этой статье, к этому докладу. Проблема борьбы с наводнениями, она, наверное, вечная. Она существует и на море, и на крупных реках. 10 лет назад в Хабаровске было очень крупное наводнение. Мы тогда столкнулись с этой проблемой неготовности в новых условиях бороться с природными силами. И тут чуть-чуть коротко. В советское время в Хабаровске действовал запрет. Нельзя было вести застройку на отметке плюс 6 метров по отношению к среднему уровню реки Амур. И так и выполняли. И никаких особых проблем с наводнениями не было. В новое время в России это правило отменили. И в 2013 году затопило очень большие территории. Конечно, самое простое – не строить там, где бывают наводнения. Но мы прекрасно видим из этого доклада, территории видели в самом начале, которые застроены, несмотря на то, что это территории повышенного риска. Человек любит это делать, идти туда, где рискованно. Частично очень комфортно, но рискованно. И потом с этим активно борется. Вот этот доклад мне понравился тем, что здесь показано грамотно, разумно, разложено, как это все происходит.
Okay, I will give a short translation of Professor Lochkova remark. It was more of a remark than a question. The problem of floods is crucial for all geographical zones, we suppose, but it's very important for Khabarovsk. 10 years ago, in 2013, we suffered a very serious flood, and very big areas of the city, they were covered with water. And from our experience, in the Soviet times before 1990, there was a restriction that there shouldn't be built any building below 6 meters according to the river level. So only plus 6 meters above the river level we could build. So we didn't go the places that could be affected by flood. We didn't build there. And now those restrictions, they are not working anymore. And the territories that were covered with flood, they were actually the zones that were built in the last years. So there's pictures in the beginning of these presentations, they show such a situation, yes, that people built in the places where the flood is very highly possible. Still, we go there and we take this risk. So it was more of a comment, and thank you very much for such a sharp and detailed research of this great problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, спасибо.
Thank you.
Any question? One more short question.
Можно еще очень короткий вопрос.
No? Okay. Thank you very much for your kind practical research. Thank you.
Okay,
and
thank you, Professor.
Okay. And then we have third presenter, Valeva Maya. The title is Improving the Efficiency of Toilet Flushing Tanks. It's research based on patent research. Its mentor, Foucault, from Far Eastern State Transport University, Khabarovsk. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, you go ahead.
Скажите, пожалуйста, видно ли мой экран?
Yes, we can see it well.
Экран
The
хорошо
theme-
видно, вас нет.
Я не знала, что меня нужно было, чтобы я была еще видна.
Ну, почему бы на вас не посмотреть? Мы все друг на друга смотрим, знакомимся. Ну, не хотите, не надо или не готовы. Давайте доклад.
Okay.
Start.
The theme of my research is improving the efficiency of toilet flushing tanks, patent research. The purpose of my research work is to identify the significance of a flushing system for the contemporary society and to propose some new and efficient designs of such systems. During my research, I solved the following six tasks. Firstly, to analyze the working mechanism of a flushing system. Secondly, to state and study the advantages and disadvantages of a flushing system prototype. Thirdly, to highlight some patients targeted and increasing the engineering capability and efficiency of a flushing system mechanism. Fourthly, to classify the problems solved by the patents. Next, to point out the strong and weak aspects of those patents. Finally, to make a conclusion on the prospects of a flushing system further development. A toilet bowl is an essential part of any toilet room, irrespective of a building type or purpose. However, toilet bowls have different flushing systems, either system or tank-free. The tank-free system has a special flush tap called a Druckspüler instead of a tank. It is a membrane tap connecting a toilet bowl with a water supply system. The major advantage of a Druckspüler system is that it is more efficient in terms of a toilet room space. On the other hand, its main disadvantages are inability to work during the temporary absence of water in the water supply system and the necessity of high water pressure in the pipeline. Thus, the flush system is worth considering in detail due to its evident advantages and widespread supply of toilet rooms. In the structure of float filling devices, the float lever mechanism directly affects the shut-off element, opening it while emptying the cistern and closing it while filling the cistern with water. In water-sealed filling constructions, the shut-off element is opened by the float lever mechanism and closed by water pressure in the water pipeline. When the cistern is full, the float lever mechanism closes the outlet hole and the water stops getting into the toilet bowl. During our research, I have classified some technical engineering solutions of the flushing system improvement. Now, I would like to touch upon every patent. On the slide, you can see this classification, first part and the second. Decreasing water consumption, regulation of supply valves and partitions. The author of this patent proposes to use a partition to divide the body into two compartments, one compartment for clean water, the other compartment for the wastewater. By means of this design, the consumption of the pipeline clean water can be decreased. Meanwhile, there are three streams of the toilet bowl work. The wastewater is enough to fill both sections of the flush system. The wastewater is enough to fill one section. There is no wastewater in the cistern. Therefore, the use of the wastewater will promote in fast accumulation. Since the temperature of the wastewater is much higher than the pipeline water, it will have a positive impact on both the quality of the flush and on the sanitation of the toilet bowl. Due to this design, it will be possible to reduce the premises heating cost and to create a more comfortable environment for the user. Increasing flush system reliability, a hinge-type design of the swivel. Using a hinge-type design of the swivel is aimed at increasing the operational reliability. When the pressure in the water mains changes, The ejector force tends to shoot off the valve. Such mechanism ensures a quick filling of the system, a proper water level, as well as the stability of the normative receive. Reducing material consumption, combination of flushing tank, hand washer, and bidet. The most effective solution to reduce material consumption is a patent that combines the functions of a flushing system, bidet, and hand washer. Such a multifunctional hygienic devices consist of a body, convent lid, functional as a sink, a filling lavering and overloading divide, a top, and a drain. The model is extraordinary due to the water spout, which is connected to the system body by means of a flexible attachment. The user can vary the position of the water spout there free and can be fixed both above the sink and above the toilet bowl. For convenient use, the spout is supplied with a movable tip in the form of a tube or a flexible hose. A valve can be provided between the outlet of the tap and the form of a tube or flexible hose. Such working element opens only when the water spout is in the working position. Thus, the device is highly economical because the clean tap water is supplied to the system and consumed only at the user's request. Improved hygiene. This model is based on the following design. A flushing system is provided with a partial water supply mechanism consisting of driving and driven levers, which are interconnected by attraction. Such design improves the hygienic qualities of the flushing system by privating the walls of the toilet bowl and reducing the pollution due to the patent water supply. During the research, it was revealed that all patents on flushing task were published more than 10 years ago. This suggests that such a topic has a development perspective. An analog of the flush tank was found Druckspule. It is the first that connects with the toilet and the water supply. When analyzing patents, a problem was found that each patent solves. A list of weaknesses and strengths has been compiled. It was found out that all patents can be classified according to the problem they solve. I am sure that the issue of improving and perfecting the flushing system has good prospects for the further research, development, and practical implementation. By using the classification of existing models and analyzing the advantages and disadvantages, I would like to develop and patent my own innovative and efficient design of the flushing system to make our houses cleaner, more comfortable, and pleasant to live in. Thank you for your attention.
Спасибо. Thank you for your practical research and patent matters. I'm a specialist in this field. I repaired my water tanks of my toilet 2 months ago. It was too expensive to call my engineers, so I bought one part of parts and I repaired it for myself. I'm a specialist. It's very interesting. Okay, any other questions for this matter?
Профессор Ли прокомментировал, что он тоже немножко специалист в этой области, потому что он 2 месяца назад сам починил свой унитаз, он сломался, и очень было дорого вызывать специалиста, вот он разобрался, поэтому большое спасибо как специалисту-практику за такой доклад.
В связи с этим у меня предложение к профессору Ли Джанбам. Вы, как ведущий секции, в отличие от всех нас, архитекторов, пожалуйста, задавайте вопросы.
So maybe you have a question as the chairman of the section, as we are all architects here.
Профессор Ли Джанбам.
Yes, and maybe Professor Li Janbam can have some question.
Okay, I have 304 patents every year with my students in Korea through global capstone design. And during your presentation, I have one question. We can reuse the hand wash water on the top of tank, and then in your diagram, in your picture, you have one float and another additional float as a level type. How can you use it? How can you operate the second float?
Я постараюсь перевести вопрос. Может быть, меня докладчик поправит, если я неправильно понимаю. А профессор Ли говорит, что у него тоже, у его студентов есть несколько патентов. Технический вопрос был, я так понимаю, про схему, на которой изображена схема бачка с двумя поплавками. Правильно? И вопрос про использование второго. Как второй используется? Не ошибаюсь, правильно перевела?
Да, вы правильно перевели. Дело в том, что второй поплавок нужен для того, чтобы контролировать уровень воды. Именно с помощью этого второго поплавка смывной бачок становится более эффективным в использовании.
So the second float is just for control of the water level, and it makes the tank more effective to work more effective as it controls the level of water.
I put one bottle of water in my tank already to save my water. That's a good idea. And other questions?
Еще вопросы, может быть? We have... Да, конечно. We have one question in the audience.
Okay. What is the question?
Правильно я понял или нет?
We will turn on the mic one moment, and I will translate. It's in Russian, and it's from the audience. Okay, I will translate into English.
Еще раз говорить, да? Да.
So the question is about whether the main point of all this improving is saving of water, right? Слышали вопрос на русском? Моя?
Нет, я не услышала вопрос.
Хорошо, я вам тогда на русском тоже скажу, что правильно ли мы понимаем, что главной целью всех этих улучшений, да, всех этих инженерных решений, это уменьшение количества используемой воды чистой, правильно?
Не совсем так, поскольку целью исследования заключалась выделить из патентов, которые уже известны, ту классификацию и те пункты, с помощью которых мы можем эти патенты улучшить. Так, например, мы можем не только экономить воду, и все патенты направлены не только на экономию воды, но и, например, на улучшение каких-то гигиенических свойств смывного бака, на улучшение микроклимата в туалете благодаря тому, что, например, мы будем использовать воду, которая уже прошла через, например, когда мы помылись, та вода, которая была уже отработана, она имеет более горячую температуру, и поэтому патент будет направлен на улучшение микроклимата.
So the purpose of all research is searching for the patterns we have and improving different points in them. And yes, one of the aims is to reduce water, the amount of water we use, but also they aim to make the process more hygienic and also to think about microclimate in the room. It counts the difference in temperatures of water clean and water used, and it also helps us to make this process more efficient.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Why don't you participate in global custom design and forces? Okay, thank you very much. And then next presentation by Celestia Nana Veronica. The title is Analysis of Iron Content in Trap Water of Khabarovsk. Its mentor is Uko from Far Eastern State University, Khabarovsk. Okay, ready?
Hello.
Okay, you
Hello.
go ahead.
My name is Veronika Kislytsina. The topic of my report is analysis of iron content in tap water in Khabarovsk. Today we are going to look at aspects such as water quality, characteristics, causes of increased iron content in water, and so on. The problem of increased iron content in tap water is encountered in Khabarovsk Krai. Many factors influence this problem, such as the geographic location of the area in question, created water pipes, water pollution in the Khabarovsk Astroblem. Increased iron content is detrimental to both the human body and household appliances, but at the moment there are many ways to treat surface and groundwater. The Amur River is the main source of Khabarovsk water slurry. Its water quality corresponds to indicators of most open water sources of the Far East. They are characterized by increased content of some natural elements, in particular iron. The reasons for the increased iron content in the water. In respect, here the so-called Tunguski water intake on the left bank of the Amur River, within the meteorite crates, which used groundwater for a depth of 38-46 meters, has been increasingly used for the water supply of the city. There are waters filtered through sands containing iron of the meteorite origin. The concentration of iron in the water is 10-20 times higher than in Amur water. Geologic claim that an iron meteorite fell 2 years near Khabarovsk formed a 100-kilometer crater in which crimes and fragments of rocks of completely different ages and composition chaotically mixed, as we can see on the maps. The content of iron and manganese in some water sources of the Far East and Khabarovsk are given in the table. Water purification from iron. The main methods of water purification from iron in deferrization station, aeration and reagent methods. Water at the outlet of the main water treatment facilities in Khabarovsk meet the standards of Sanpin, but often reach the taps of consumers with thick fermentation yellow to brown. This indicates secondary fermentation during transportation. The authors of the article aim to investigate the causes of pollution and consider possible solutions to this problem. A comparative analysis of groundwater on the content of iron manganese in the groundwater sources of some settlements of the Far East which shows that outside the Vandan and XXIII regions, that it outside the Khabarovsk geological structure, presumably of meteorite origin. The content of the stated elements is much lower, from which we conclude that the increased content of iron and manganese in the underground sources of Khabarovsk is of meteorite origin. Elevated conversion of iron in tap water are not related to the content of this metal in the sources, because the water is supplied to the water supply network, fully purified and combined with the standard. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your articles. It's study for the purification of ion or contaminated water. Okay. Any question for this presentation?
Профессор Лей?
Yeah. Okay. Professor Puskova.
Я правильно... Да, спасибо за интересный доклад. Я правильно понимаю, что на воду в Хабаровске влияет Тунгусский метеорит?
Нет, на содержание железа в водо...
So, Professor Luchkova wondered if the Tungus meteorite influences the water quality in Khabarovsk. Да, можно ответ теперь.
Получается, на содержание железа в водопроводной воде Хабаровска влияет именно метеорит, который упал в районе города Хабаровска, и из-за этого образовались как раз хребет XXIII и Vandan.
It's not about the very famous Tungus meteorite. It's about meteorite that fell very long ago in the area of Khabarovsk near the XXIII mountains, and now it influences the quantity of iron in our water supply system.
Хорошо. Не Тунгусский метеорит, известный во всем мире, но то есть тоже метеорит. То есть мы пьем, то есть мы, ну, в общем, хабаровчане пьют воду космического, отчасти космического происхождения.
So there are some particles in our water we drink that are from that came to us from outer space, right?
Да, потому что вот как раз в районе Хабаровска упал железный метеорит, который впоследствии воды ведь проходят как раз через поверхность, например, песка, в котором содержатся части метеорита, и получается, что в воде содержится повышенное содержание железа.
So as the meteorite that fell was fully contained iron, yes, there are some particles of it that still flow into the water, because now it's the place where the water flows. So yeah, we have some particles in our water supply system.
Так, я поняла. То есть хабаровчане пьют космическую воду. А вот вопрос еще один у меня. Скажите, как часто такая вода распространена в мире? Насколько этот феномен редок, насколько он распространен?
So the next question is that a unique phenomena or is it spread in other different places that also experience the fall of some object from space?
Да, это довольно редко, но это до конца не изучено, поэтому мы не можем говорить точно, вот, потому что у нас в России мало внимания уделяют тому, чтобы рассматривать прошлые падения метеоритов, ведь даже не широко известно, что в районе Хабаровска упал железный метеорит. И поэтому это именно железный метеорит, то, что повышенное железо, как минимум на Дальнем Востоке, это редкость.
So at least in the Far East of Russia, it's very rare. And as we can say the same about other regions. And we can add that this phenomena is not very well researched. There are not so many facts about it. So not many people in Khabarovsk even know about that meteorite. It was iron meteorite that fell very long time ago near Khabarovsk.
У меня, извините, не могу оторваться от такой интересной темы. У меня в связи с этим предложение. Надо развивать туристическую индустрию в этой области. Космическую воду пьют в Хабаровске. Надо этим торговать, надо это пропагандировать.
Верванда, у меня об этом статья написана и уже опубликована.
So Professor Lychkova, we have a kind of discussion here, and Professor Lychkova was impressed by this report, and she has maybe approach in another field, but maybe we can develop the tourist direction to this place, and we want to use the marketing about we drink the space water, and okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I have one more question. What do you think? Do you think your water is controlled well from this time? And then what your score for your Khabarovsk water, for drinking water?
А как вы считаете?
From your research point of view.
А как вы считаете, каково качество воды сегодня в Хабаровске? Вы не могли бы выставить оценку? И насколько хорошо контролируется сейчас современными системами эта проблема?
На данный момент качество контролируется довольно хорошо, ведь на самих станциях водоочищения вода выходит по всем нормам Санпина. Вот. Но мы дальше будем разбираться, в чем дело, почему до жителей все-таки доводится вода с повышенным содержанием железа.
So the control system works quite well. It works according to all the sanitary norms and regulations of Russia. So the water is in the limits of these regulations. However, we are still in the process of finding out how these iron particles get into the water, and we are still researching it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not paid to buy water when I visit Khabarovsk. Okay, thank you very much for your practical and good presentation. Thank you very much. And then we have fifth presenter, Aurel Daria. The title is Problem of Linear Pedestrian Spaces and Modern Methods of Their Modernization on the Example of Kalmak Street in Khabarovsk. It was mentored by Jadverin National University, Khabarovsk.
Okay, Professor Lee, this presentation was already given as we have a little change. So now we will come to the presentation number 6.
It's the last.
Yeah, last one.
Previous one. Okay. Which the next?
Number 6.
Shiana.
Yeah, right.
Shiana. Okay. Shiliana Xenia. The title is Characteristic of Oil-Bearing Subshale Waters Made on River Fleet Basis. It was mentored by Chashenko from Far Eastern State Transport University, Khabarovsk.
Good afternoon.
Okay, you go ahead.
Your attention is presented a paper on the analysis of waste oil-containing waters of ships on the Amur River. We all know that the problem of ecology is relevant today. The topic of freshwater pollution by ship waste is also relevant. In this slide, you can see the purpose of the study water of ships. My work is devoted to the analysis of the formation of all levators and, most importantly, their volume. This slide contains the main of pollution formation. This includes engineering power, the level of engineering culture, and the technical condition of the vessel. Next, when we studied this one, we found the dependence of the vessel's power on the amount of emissions. These are the walls for each individual ship of the river fleet. This name of ship, Quentley and engine power ever ship. We have completed one of the main tasks of our research. We found the amount of pollution realized per day. 5,000 liters of water need to be cleaned of eco-friendly production. This means that in the future, when we expand the project, we will be able to use this volume to design a cleaning station and prevent pollution of the Amur River. Thank you for your attention.
Professor Lee, we don't hear.
Okay. It's very short form and very clear definition. Any question for this presentation?
Вопросы докладчику? As we are architects here, it's a little bit complicated for us.
Any question?
Нет, ну как, ну, предыдущий.
We're trying to think about question. So maybe we can finish, Professor Lee.
Okay. Thank you very much. We had good presenters from Khabarovsk University, and then there was so practical articles. So we can use your papers in the future for our further good lives. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. We'll meet again so soon. Thanks. Спасибо.
Спасибо, профессор Ли Джанбам. Thank you so much for that section.
Спасибо, профессор. Вера Ивановна Лучкова. It's almost around 12 in St. Petersburg now. What time is it now?
So we suppose we have 15 minutes.
So now a little break, 15 minutes. And after section.
Yeah, but I don't see Professor Guaranda.
Профессора, да. Михаил, а есть какой-то более короткий контакт с ним?
Только через Елену, но она молчит и на Фейсбуке, и в WhatsApp.
Странно.
Okay, we are waiting for Professor Guaranya to join us.
Hello, Professor Ivan.
Профессор Иван поздоровался.
Hello, Professor
Ivan.
Lee.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Very busy.
Nice to see you.
Professor Lee, how are you?
I'm fine.
Fine.
Do you have a lunch?
Что?
Do you have a lunch?
После ланча профессор Ли к нам присоединился.
We'll have a dinner soon. It's already evening.
Professor Lee, come to St. Petersburg.
Okay. Next year, I will retire next year. So I have a lot of free time.
Yes.
And then you come to Korea also, okay? Professor Samsonova and Professor Ivan and Professor Lushkova, come here. To see Kyungbokum.
Профессор Ли приглашает.
I'll guide you in detail in spot in Kyungbokum.
Gyeongbokgung. I like Gyeongbokgung. I was in Gyeongbokgung maybe in 2007. Maybe.
I never been in Changbokgung.
I remember.
Nowadays, is a lot of buildings were restored now. There will be more buildings than 2007.
But I remember 2016. Very good time.
2016.
Very good time. Yes.
Professor Lee.
Okay.
Professor, I visited Gyeongbokgung and Jangbokgung in 2014.
You buy one king costume and you can go free every day. You can be a king.
Sorry, Professor Gianfranco.
Okay.
Buongiorno.
Hey, good
Mi
day.
sentite?
Buongiorno.
Is me? Huh?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, can we start?
Okay.
Okay, let's start the last section. For this day, it's some lecture from a professor from Trieste University, Professor Gianfranco Guaragna. The theme of the lecture, the role of architecture in the relationship between cinema and the novel. So, Professor, can we start your presentation?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, in the beginning. Okay. Okay. Go. You can go the first. You listen me? Okay. Okay. Can you go? I speak in Italian, and the test is in the slide. Come è noto, esiste uno stretto legame tra cinema e architettura, così come tra cinema e letteratura. Tuttavia ritengo che in tale contesto l'architettura occupi sicuramente un ruolo centrale. In altri termini, il rapporto tra cinema e letteratura difficilmente può ignorare il ruolo di cerniera che l'architettura viene ad assumere in questa triade, poiché il legame tra il film e il romanzo sicuramente non può prescindere da essa. Sappiamo che lo scenario è ciò che di solito consente alle storie di avere uno svolgimento e il rapporto tra scenario e azione è stretto quanto quello tra palcoscenico e opera teatrale, scrive Amitav Ghosh. Inoltre, egli aggiunge, entriamo a poco nello scenario fino a quando comincia a sembrarci reale e noi stessi ne diventiamo parte. Ed è proprio questa la ragione per cui il senso del luogo è notoriamente una delle grandi magie della forma romanzo. Di conseguenza, che sia descritta nelle pagine di un libro o ripresa nelle sequenze di una pellicola, l'architettura, in quanto scenario per eccellenza, rappresenta senza dubbio un elemento indispensabile della narrazione. Infatti, quando il racconto ci viene restituito attraverso la tecnica cinematografica, mostra in tutta la sua evidenza come essa rivesta oggettivamente un ruolo assolutamente inderogabile. Ok? Ok. Del resto, basti solo pensare, per dirne una, a un film come Il disprezzo di Jean-Luc Godard, con Michel Piccoli e Brigitte Bardot, tratto dall'omonimo romanzo di Alberto Moravia, interamente girato nella Villa Malaparte a Capri. È noto che Moravia ha lavorato per il cinema e la stessa ispirazione del romanzo è cinefila. Infatti, per la sceneggiatura dell'ipotetico film, egli aveva pensato a Vitaliano Brancati. Nella realizzazione del film ci sono stati numerosi contrasti tra il regista e il produttore, a cominciare dalla versione dei titoli di testa, che nell'originale erano letti dallo stesso Godard, ma che nella scelta dei due protagonisti non c'era accordo. Godard voleva affidare le parti a Frank Sinatra e Kim Novak, mentre Carlo Ponti voleva sua moglie Sofia Loren e Marcello Mastroianni. Quindi Piccoli e la Bardot furono una sorta di compromesso. Io non interessavo a lei non interessava a me, dirà Godard, a proposito di quest'ultima. Inoltre Carlo Ponti, per sfruttare la presenza della Bardot, chiede esplicitamente al regista che vi siano almeno 2 o 3 scene di nudo che Godard affronta e risolve con maestria, senza mai cadere nella volgarità. Ok? A partire dalla prima scena, che si svolge in una cinecittà deserta e assolata, tutto il film è caratterizzato da una sovraesposizione cromatica, poiché secondo Godard la rappresentazione dell'Italia doveva essere solare. Ma poi va rilevato che tra i numerosi messaggi vi è un esplicito omaggio a Rossellini. Infatti, quando i due protagonisti si recano al cinema, campeggia sullo schermo il manifesto di Viaggio in Italia, il film di Rossellini che all'epoca fu stroncato dalla critica, che preferiva le sue esperienze del neorealismo, ma al contrario fu molto apprezzato e amato dai giovani della Nouvelle Vague. La Nouvelle Vague, infatti, deve molto a questo film, a cui forse va attribuita l'origine stessa della sua esistenza. Era una maniera nuova di fare cinema, quella di Rossellini, nella quale i silenzi diventavano il contenuto drammatico dell'azione stessa e dove il perché è meno importante del come. Per quanto riguarda la scelta di Capri da utilizzare come location, essa è dovuta al fatto che all'epoca non c'era produttore che non possedesse una villa a Capri. Era un luogo comune, quindi, anche nella finzione del film. La villa Malaparte appartiene al produttore della pellicola che si appresta a girare Piccolì. Ok? Ok? Ok. Curzio Malaparte, il cui vero nome è Kurt Zucker, è sicuramente un personaggio controverso, originale, irrequieto e irriverente. Dopo essere stato convinto fascista, inviato di guerra, direttore di giornale, confinato a Lipari, in modo piuttosto misterioso, come afferma Bruce Chatwin, mette le mani su una cospicua somma di denaro e acquista Capo Massullo da un pescatore caprese, decidendo di commissionare ad Adalberto Libera una casa come me. La casa, con le stupende vedute sul mare, non solo doveva soddisfare la sua malinconica nostalgia di spazio e riprodurre il lato positivo del rapporto con la natura del suo esilio a Lipari, ma doveva essere soprattutto una casa dell'era della macchina che non di meno preservasse i più antichi valori mediterranei. I muri erano color sangue di bue, le finestre simili agli oblò di un transatlantico e c'era una rampa di gradini a cuneo che saliva obliqua come una via sacra fino alla terrazza. In realtà la casa si presenta diversa dal progetto di Libera e sicuramente in gran parte opera dello scrittore, anche se fu Pietro Bardi che si occupò della realizzazione, sia per quanto riguarda gli elaborati esecutivi di progetto che la direzione dei lavori. Ok? Nel piano seminterrato sono collocati gli ambienti di servizio con la cantina e la lavanderia, mentre al piano terra vi è l'ingresso attraverso cui da un lato si accede alla cucina e dall'altro al corridoio che conduce a 4 camere da letto con 2 bagni. Dalla scala interna, posta sempre all'ingresso, si sale al piano superiore, caratterizzato da un ampio salone imbiancato a calce, con il pavimento di pietra ricoperto di pelli di camoscio, con lunghi divani di suatè foderati di lino e con tavoli dal bordo ondulato poggiati su colonne di calcestruzzo. Sempre nello stesso piano si trova la camera della favorita, con un letto a 2 piazze che è come una sorta di altare appoggiato a un muro di sadorno, e la camera dello scrittore, dalla quale si accede allo studio. Quest'ultimo ha una finestra su ogni lato, una stufa di maiolica ed è ornato da dipinti raffiguranti donne etiopi con un pavimento di piastrelle col disegno della lira di Orfeo. Quest'ultimo ha una finestra su ogni lato. Entrambe le camere hanno la propria stanza da bagno rivestita in marmo grigio striziato. Il vasto ambiente del soggiorno, ornato da grandi nudi lignee realizzati da Prerocle e Fazzini, è caratterizzato inoltre dall'originale caminetto che attraverso una lastra di cristallo temperato posta sullo sfondo permette agli ospiti di vedere il mare dietro le fiamme. Ok? Il disprezzo è un film del 1963, ma nel 1968 esce sugli schermi La scogliera dei desideri, il cui titolo originale è Boom, un film di Joseph Losey tratto dal romanzo di Tennessee Williams. La pellicola è una produzione americana e nonostante si avvalga di un cast di grande rilievo che vede ancora insieme la coppia più pagata dell'epoca, Richard Burton e Liz Taylor, e un budget esorbitante, si rivelò un fiasco per la critica e i botteghini. Girato in Sardegna, nei pressi di Olbia, in questo caso per l'ambientazione italiana non si sceglie una villa esistente, ma se ne costruisce una ex novo, a picco sul mare, su un promontorio del porto Conte, l'Argentiere e l'isola di Tavolara. La villa, nonostante si tratti solo di una location per il film, non è realizzata come una scenografia, ma verrà costruita con materiali veri, per poi essere abbattuta alla conclusione delle riprese. Ok. Ad ogni modo sono tanti gli esempi di romanzi e racconti trasposti in linguaggio cinematografico, dove l'architettura viene ad assumere oggettivamente un ruolo assolutamente inderogabile. Molti anni prima che Gaio Aulenti realizzasse il suo progetto per il Musée d'Orsay, Orson Welles, nella stessa Gare d'Orsay in Disarmo, girava nel 1962 gran parte delle scene della sua trasposizione cinematografica de Il processo di Kafka. Le scenografie di Jean Mordeau riescono a creare all'interno della vecchia stazione ferroviaria, caratterizzata dalla volta in ferro e vetro, uno spazio kafkiano dove Welles, per restituire un senso di oppressione, riprende i personaggi dal basso verso l'alto, alternandole in sequenze contrapposte a quelle appiattite dall'alto verso il basso. Ok? C'è poi Blade Runner di Ridley Scott, ispirato molto liberamente al romanzo di Philip Dick, dove in una distopica Los Angeles il replicante Roy Batty recita il commovente monologo sul tetto del Bradley Building, un edificio di fine Ottocento dove un'anonima facciata in mattoni fa da contrappunto un interno arioso caratterizzato da un atrio a tutta altezza, con scale e ascensori a gabbie in ferro battuto, sormontato da un grande lucernario. Tuttavia, se i fuggitivi delle colonie extraterrestri, i replicanti appunto, avevano trovato rifugio nel Bradbury, va ricordato che il loro progettista Sebastian abitava invece nella Ennis House di Frank Lloyd Wright. Quella di Wright è una villa isolata realizzata tra il 1923 e il 1924 per Charles e Mabel Annie nel quartiere di Los Angeles, a sud di Griffith Park. Costruita principalmente con blocchi di calcestruzzo prefabbricato, la composizione segue quella già sperimentata in altre sue opere californiane. Infatti è l'ultima delle 4 case costruite a Los Angeles con i Texas Block. Qui forse, ancora più che in altri suoi edifici, risulta evidente il riferimento agli antichi templi Maya, anche grazie ai blocchi quadrati che decorano la facciata con i loro disegni. Come per le altre, anche in questa la pianta è organizzata sulla base di un'unità di 4 piedi e 3 blocchi. L'ingresso si trova sotto il livello principale, mentre sul lato settentrionale, un livello ammezzato, un lungo loggiato rasentando il soggiorno porta 2 camere da letto separate da una terrazza. Mezzo livello più in alto, sul lato meridionale, oltre alla sala da pranzo, affiancata dalla cucina e alla dispensa, c'è una camera per gli ospiti. Questo è l'ultimo progetto domestico in cui Wright utilizza per le finestre dei vetri artistici decorati con la stilizzazione del glicine. Okay. Il film Arancia Meccanica di Stanley Kubrick, come è noto, è tratto dal romanzo di Anthony Burgess del 1962. Ci sono diverse interpretazioni riguardo al significato del titolo che nemmeno Burgess è stato in grado di chiarire fino in fondo. In ogni caso, Clockwork Orange era l'espressione tipica dello slang londinese e in una lettera pubblicata dal Los Angeles Times lo scrittore affermò che il titolo e il tema dell'opera prendevano spunto da un grave episodio in cui fu coinvolto egli stesso quando era residente a Java, dove la sua compagna fu picchiata e violentata da un gruppo di militari americani ubriachi. Ambientato in un futuro distopico, il romanzo si apre con la presentazione del protagonista, Alex Malcolm McDowell, che con i membri della sua banda vagabonda per le strade di notte, compiendo rapine e atti di violenza per puro divertimento. Alex è intelligente, sa esprimersi in modo appropriato, ama la musica classica, soprattutto Beethoven, ed è più colto della media dei suoi coetanei. Si diletta però nel delinquere e nel commettere atti di violenza gratuita. Okay. Una delle scene fondamentali del film, vale a dire la sequenza del brutale stupro subito dalla signora Alexander e dal pestaggio del marito, in seguito al quale è rimasto paraplegico, è stato girato in una delle prime realizzazioni del Team 4, il primo ufficio di Norman Foster, la Jeffrey House appunto. Nell'idea dei progettisti, essa è concepita sulla base di 3 parametri: la massima flessibilità per diversi usi e occasioni sociali, l'introduzione della luce naturale e la possibilità di estendere la casa nel paesaggio in futuro. L'abitazione, caratterizzata da una serie di dislivelli, è a sua volta divisa in 3 fasce distinte. La prima è l'area pubblica principale della casa, il soggiorno. Le altre 2 sono invece destinate alla cucina, ai bagni e alle camere da letto. La connessione tra le parti è affidata a pannelli scorrevoli, espandendo in tal modo la sua qualità spaziale. La Jeffrey House è realizzato tra il 1965 e il 1966 dal Team 4, uno studio di architettura britannico fondato nel 1963 dai giovani architetti Cheeseman, Foster e Rogers. Tuttavia, ben presto emersero frizioni all'interno dello studio. Nel giugno del 67 Foster e Rogers decisero di sciogliere la società e in seguito Rogers sposò Brumwell e Foster sposò Cheeseman. Ok? Attenzione però, perché quando François Truffaut in uno scritto del 58 parla dell'adattamento letterario al cinema, ci dice chiaramente che tra fedeltà alla lettera e fedeltà allo spirito nessuna regola è possibile e ogni caso è particolare. È permesso tutto, egli aggiunge, tranne la banalizzazione, l'immiserimento e l'edulcorazione. D'altronde si sa che è veramente raro che un film possa rimanere fedele al romanzo e gli esiti non sempre riescono a soddisfare le aspettative dell'autore del libro. Infatti, quando Ira Nedel, nel suo saggio Philip Roth Film, sostiene che Roth è orgoglioso quando un suo libro viene scelto per essere filmato, sapendo bene che il cinema mette in contatto con la sua opera un pubblico molto più vasto, Roth classifica l'affermazione come una pura scemenza, in quanto egli considerava la precisione della pagina scritta più duratura della trasposizione in immagini ed era sempre infastidito quando un servizio televisivo radiofonico su di lui o sulla sua opera iniziava ad esempio con un clip del film tratto da Goodbye Columbus, come se si trattasse della stessa cosa del romanzo. Tuttavia, questo dipende dal film e dal regista e proprio in virtù del fatto che l'opera cinematografica è e deve essere cosa ben diversa dall'opera letteraria, vediamo che Luchino Visconti, ad esempio, interpreta molto liberamente i romanzi da cui sono tratti i suoi film, tanto che quando con Lo straniero del 1967 si trova costretto a rimanere strettamente fedele al testo letterario, ammetterà che il film, nonostante si avvalga di un'impeccabile interpretazione di Marcello Mastroianni, è uno dei suoi lavori cinematografici meno riusciti. Tratto da un testo di Albert Camus, la pellicola è infatti il frutto di un compromesso, con la vedova di quest'ultimo, che nel cedergli i diritti esige l'assoluta fedeltà del testo letterario e a tal fine arriverà a imporgli addirittura 2 sceneggiatori francesi di sua fiducia. Quasi tutti i film di Visconti sono ispirati a romanzi, ma mai la trasposizione cinematografica è rimasta fedele al testo letterario. D'altronde, secondo David Lynch, un libro, una sceneggiatura, non sono altro che uno scheletro a cui bisogna dare carne e sangue. E a questo possiamo aggiungere, vale sia che si voglia rimanere fedeli al racconto, sia che se ne faccia la più libera interpretazione. È naturale dunque che in tale contesto l'architettura, oltre al luogo per l'ambientazione delle vicende, viene inevitabilmente ad assumere una funzione di carattere fortemente simbolico, nella quale concentrare i contenuti reconditi e i risvolti psicologici della storia da raccontare. Tutto ciò, ad esempio, è facilmente riscontrabile nella ricchissima filmografia di Alfred Hitchcock, da cui si può capire come, per lui, la fedeltà al romanzo è senz'altro un falso problema e dalla quale si può evincere quanto sia fondamentale l'architettura al fine di creare l'atmosfera che il regista desidera ottenere per infondere ulteriori emozioni alla storia. Tuttavia va precisato che c'è un modo di raccontare che è cinematografico a prescindere. Per esempio, nei Promessi Sposi del 1825, Umberto Eco ci fa notare come il Manzoni, per descrivere l'ambiente, parta da una veduta aerea, o per meglio dire, una visione geografica dettagliata del territorio, che procede dall'alto verso il basso, secondo un movimento di zoom, fino a cambiare il punto di vista. Egli infatti ci porta da nord verso sud e nel movimento descrittivo segue il corso del fiume, continuando verso i torrenti, i monti, i pendii, i valloncelli, sino alle strade e i viottoli di ghiaia e ciottoli. La visione geografica, proseguendo, diventa man mano visione topografica e include potenzialmente l'osservatore umano. Mentre passa dalla profondità alla lateralità, l'ottica si ribalta e a quel punto i monti vengono visti di profilo, come se li guardasse un essere umano. E anche i pendii e i viottoli, visti dall'alto, sono descritti come se procedessimo a piedi. A questo punto Manzoni compie un ulteriore salto, passando dalla geografia del territorio alla storia e quindi al racconto. Inoltre va rilevato che più o meno negli stessi anni, in Notre-Dame de Paris del 1831, Victor Hugo usa la stessa tecnica, mostrando prima la città vista dall'alto, per poi penetrare nei suoi meandri, nei suoi vicoli, fino alla cattedrale all'interno della quale l'arcidiacono Claude Frollo ha il suo laboratorio alchemico in una delle due torri. Truffaut ci fa notare che Hitchcock in molti suoi film utilizzi lo stesso principio di esposizione, che va dal più lontano al più vicino. Si vede prima una città, un edificio in questa città, una camera in questo edificio. Anche Psycho inizia nello stesso modo. Si apre infatti con una panoramica per poi avvicinarsi all'edificio, inquadrare la finestra che ci porterà nella stanza dove si svolge la prima scena. Mentre scorrono in sequenza le immagini della città, sulla pellicola appare la scritta in sovrimpressione, dalla quale apprendiamo che si tratta di Phoenix, in Arizona. Poi si vede sullo schermo la data, il venerdì 11 dicembre. Infine appare l'ora, mancano 17 minuti alle 3 del pomeriggio. E questo particolare dell'orario, in apparenza marginale, serve invece al regista per suggerire allo spettatore l'esistenza di un rapporto clandestino che lega Marion e Sam prima che i due appaiano sulla scena. Ora, attraverso il montaggio, le inquadrature e lo svolgersi dell'azione, indubbiamente Hitchcock imprime alla pellicola ciò che manca alla convenzione narrativa del romanzo da cui è tratto il film, ma è anche grazie all'ausilio espressivo delle architetture scelte come cornice della vicenda che il regista riesce a corroborare il coinvolgimento emotivo del pubblico. Difatti egli afferma: ho scelto questa casa e questo motel perché mi sono reso conto che la storia non avrebbe avuto lo stesso effetto con un bungalow qualsiasi. Questo genere di architettura era adatto alla sua atmosfera. A molti piace pensare che l'idea per la casa di Psycho nasca da un quadro di Hopper. Tuttavia va precisato che benché l'abitazione della madre di Norman, interpretato da Anthony Perkins, sia indubbiamente molto simile alla casa rappresentata da Hopper, il quadro del 1925, Hitchcock specifica che si tratta della fedele riproduzione di una casa reale. La sua intenzione, infatti, non era quella di ricreare l'atmosfera dei classici film dell'orrore, ma di trascendere la finzione cinematografica per dare un senso di autenticità alla narrazione. L'atmosfera misteriosa, dunque, è in parte accidentale, poiché ci fa notare, sempre il grande cineasta, lo stile gotico californiano che caratterizza questa abitazione è diffuso in molte case isolate del nord della California. Ciò non toglie che, pur essendo una tipologia usuale, la casa vicino alla ferrovia di Hopper è avvolta da un'atmosfera di abbandono e isolamento, tale da suscitare nell'osservatore una sensazione di insicurezza, quasi di timore. Nel quadro, infatti, il manufatto esprime una condizione di mistero latente, evidenziata ancor di più dal taglio netto della linea ferroviaria che, attraversando orizzontalmente in basso l'intera superficie del dipinto, cela una parte del volume dell'abitazione all'altezza del basamento. Okay. Tuttavia, ciò che a noi interessa naturalmente non è la somiglianza tra le due case, poiché abbiamo già appurato che, essendo una tipologia molto diffusa, si tratta solo di una coincidenza, mentre è interessante l'analogia concettuale che sussiste tra la composizione degli elementi sulla tela e quelle delle architetture in cui si risolve il film. Proprio quella che Hitchcock, parlando di Psycho, chiama appunto la composizione del blocco verticale e del blocco orizzontale, ossia l'ortogonalità tra le linee e le figure, che in qualche modo ritroviamo anche in Hopper. Infatti, così come nel dipinto dell'artista statunitense, la verticalità della casa è contrapposta all'orizzontalità della linea ferroviaria, allo stesso modo la casa della madre di Norman si contrappone al blocco orizzontale del motel. È forse proprio questo contrasto tra geometrie, nel secondo caso accentuato ancora di più dall'antitesi che si crea tra lo scarno aspetto formale del motel e lo stile austero dell'abitazione, in una certa misura contribuisce a suscitare un leggero stato di tensione, riuscendo in maniera subliminale ad evocare in noi una sorta di inquietudine latente. Slavoj Žižek individua in questa contrapposizione tra le due costruzioni addirittura la causa delle turbe psichiche che caratterizzano il protagonista del film. Infatti, egli scrive: si può anche considerare Norman come il soggetto scisso fra due case, il motel moderno e orizzontale e la casa materna, gotica e verticale. Egli si muove incessantemente tra le due, senza mai trovare un posto proprio. In questo senso, il carattere Lake del finale del film sta a significare che, identificandosi pienamente con la madre, Norman ha finalmente trovato il suo heim, la sua casa. Poi Žižek si spinge oltre e, prendendo come esempio il punto di intersezione della famosa casa di Frank Gehry a Santa Monica in California, segna l'unione tra le preesistenze e l'ampliamento realizzato dall'architetto. Sottolinea come Friedrich Jameson individui nella stanza dell'intersezione tra i due spazi il luogo fondamentale della costruzione, per aggiungere che appunto questo è il luogo in cui si risolve l'antagonismo tra i due oggetti, vale a dire quella è la sede nella quale si verifica la mediazione tra gli opposti. Di conseguenza, questo lo porta a una singolare conclusione, un'ipotesi tanto bizzarra quanto intrigante, secondo la quale il filosofo sloveno arriva a stabilire che se il Motel Bates fosse stato progettato da Gehry, Norman non avrebbe avuto bisogno di uccidere le sue vittime, dato che sarebbe stato alleviato dall'insostenibile tensione che lo obbliga a correre tra i due luoghi, avrebbe avuto un terzo luogo di mediazione tra i due estremi. Ora, arrivare a sposare la teoria di Žižek, è tuttavia innegabile il ruolo fondamentale che assumono questi due semplici manufatti architettonici all'interno della struttura narrativa del racconto, tanto che tutta la storia può essere sintetizzata in due sole immagini: la casa che sovrasta il motel degli omicidi e la scena dell'assassino sotto la doccia. Truffaut afferma che non esistono buone storie, ci sono solo buoni film, tutti basati su un'idea profonda, che deve sempre poter essere riassunta in una sola parola. E la trama di Psycho, se proprio non si può riassumere in una parola, sicuramente si risolve intorno a queste due immagini, senza che il concetto del grande critico e cineasta francese venga alterato. Ma si sa che Truffaut adorava Hitchcock, che infatti annoverava tra i più grandi registi, se non il più grande. Fin dall'inizio della sua carriera, Hitchcock ha capito che se si è in grado di leggere un giornale con i propri occhi, la propria testa, si è in grado di leggere un romanzo con i propri occhi e il cuore in gola. Il film deve essere allora visto nello stesso modo in cui si legge un romanzo. Thank you very much. You've finished.
Thank you, Professor Granga. So, any questions?
Maybe a small comment. I'm listening to Professor Gorania lecture, and I'm just trying to review Russian films and what houses or districts of the city can be called there, who play the very important role in the film. So their role is the same as an actor, maybe. And I remember just the first example is the Pokrovsky Gate, a movie where the district of Moscow is shown in the middle of the 20th century, which was demolished right after the film. So this film keeps the memory of this architecture, which doesn't exist anymore. So I think that in many good movies, we can find architecture playing the role of an actor or telling the big part of the story. I have just more comment than a question. Thank you.
But this work is a work in progress. A work of this right is not finished. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
У меня вопрос есть. Профессор Джанфранко, дом соответствует социальному масштабу семьи и человека. Человек бывает разный, и образ дома тоже может меняться. Дом может быть крепостью, дом может быть добрым соседом в коммуне, дом может быть тюрьмой и так далее и тому подобное. А если в Европе, в европейской цивилизации какое-то более точное определение, что такое дом?
Okay, this is a little bit side question about the definition of the house itself. So as we've seen from the lecture, the house, it depicts the person who lives there or the family who lives in the house, their social status, their values, and so on. So what is the definition of the house itself? How do you think maybe some European tradition has a definition that you consider the most precise?
I don't understand very well, but it's not Elena for translate in Italian. Huh? Elena? No.
No, she's not here. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Because I don't understand very well. Can you repeat the last?
Okay, I'll try to make it simple. The question was about what is the house? What is your definition of the family house based on your lecture?
Okay. Oh, I don't know. The family house, I don't know for the definition of the family house. I don't know. Sorry. Elena ha detto che mi traduceva, ma non si è fatta vedere. Ok.
Михаил, ну, Елена не подключится, правильно я понимаю?
Yeah, Professor Guanga, Elena not with us. She has some technical difficulties today.
Okay.
So if we have no questions, I think we will finish this conference here. Okay?
Okay.
Professor Guaranya, thank you very much.
After I send you the test for the publication.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, I think that now we can finish the second day of our conference. See you tomorrow in the section number 3. Yes, at 3 p.m. in Khabarovsk time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.